Okay, good evening children. Good evening class. Tonight we'll be dealing with the 6th PowerPoint presentation that is intended for semi-final coverage of our subject. Tonight we will discuss Republic Act number 8792 and E-Commerce Act of 2000. But before anything else, we would like also to credit these following researchers for making the research so that this PowerPoint presentation will come into a reality. We would like to thank Ben Chibron Regis, Angelica Villanueva, Miss Karen Plaza, Joylyn Refugio, and Celsi Cassandra Trillo. Okay class, as usual, these are the following pre-test or post-test test questions. Question: what is Republic Act 8792? Another question, number 2. Give at least 2 aims of e-commerce. Another is, what is the general rule and exceptions of acknowledgement of receipt of electronic data messages or electronic document? Number 4, define addressee. Number 5, what are the presumptions relating to electronic signatures? Number 6, what is intermediary? Number 7, what are the penalties of hacking? Number 7, define electronic key. Number 8, what is the general rule on time of dispatch of electronic data messages or electronic documents? And what is the sphere of application of Republic Act 8792? Now let's go to questions and answers. Question number 1. What is Republic Act 8792? Answer: it is an act that provides for the recognition and use of electronic commercial and non-commercial transactions and documents, penalties for unlawful thereof, for unlawful use thereof, and other purposes. Number 2, give at least 2 aims of e-commerce. Answer: to recognize the authenticity and reliability of electronic data messages or electronic documents related to such activities. Number 2, to promote the universal use of electronic transactions in the government and by the general public. Number 3, what is the general rule and exceptions of acknowledgement of receipt of electronic data message or electronic document? Answer: general rule, no acknowledgement of receipt is necessary, but there are exceptions. 1, if the parties agrees to it and the originator requested in the EDM/AD. Define addressee. Answer: it's a person intended by the originator to receive the electronic data message or electronic document, but does not include a person acting as an intermediary with respect to that electronic data message or electronic data document. Excuse me, class. And number 5 question. What are the presumptions relating to electronic signatures? Answer: the presumptions is that A, the electronic signature is the signature of the person to whom it correlates, and B, the electronic signature was affixed by that person with the intention of signing or approving the electronic document unless the person relying on the electronically signed electronic document knows. Number 6, define intermediary. Answer: intermediary refers to a person who, on behalf of another person and with respect to a particular electronic document, sends, receives, and restores, provides other services in respect of that electronic data message or electronic document. Number 7, what are the penalties of hacking? Answer: minimum 100,000 fine and 6 months to 3 years imprisonment. Number 8, define electronic key. Answer: electronic key refers to a secret code which secures and defends sensitive information that cross over public channel into a form decipherable only with a matching electronic key. Number 9. What is the general rule of time of dispatch of electronic data messages or electronic documents? Answer: the general rule is that the dispatch of an electronic data message or electronic document occurs when it enters an information system outside the control of the originator, of the person who sent the electronic data message or electronic document on behalf of the originator. Number 10, what is the sphere of application of Republic Act number 8792? Answer: the Act shall apply to any kind of electronic document used in the context of commercial and non-commercial activities, to include domestic and international dealings, transactions, arrangements, agreements, contracts, and exchanges and storage of information. Okay, let us discuss. Okay, let us talk about Electronic Act of 2000 or Republic Act number 8792. What is this? It is an act providing for the recognition and use of electronic commercial and non-commercial transactions and documents, penalties for unlawful use thereof, and other purposes. What are the objectives of e-commerce or act or its aims? 1. To facilitate domestic and international dealings, transactions, arrangements, agreements, contracts, and exchanges and storage of information through the utilization of electronic, optical, and similar medium, mode, instrumentality, and technology. What else? To recognize the authenticity and reliability of electronic data, messages, or electronic document related to such activities, and to promote the universal use of electronic transactions in the government and by the general public. Then, definition of terms. What is meant by addressee? Addressee is a person who is intended by the originator to receive the electronic data, message, or electronic document, but does not include a person acting as an intermediary with respect to that electronic data message or electronic data document. What is a computer? A computer refers to any device or apparatus singly or interconnected which by electronic, electromechanical, or other means with the same function can receive, can record, can transmit, can store, can process, or other modes of expression or perform any one or more of these functions. What is electronic data message? Electronic data message refers to information generated, received, sent, or stored by electronic, optical, or similar means. What do you understand by electronic signature? Electronic signature refers to any distinctive mark, characteristic, and or sound in electronic form representing the identity of a person and attached to or logically associated with electronic data messages or electronic document, or approving an electronic data message or electronic document information and communication system. Information and communication system. What is this? It refers to a system for sending, receiving, storing, or otherwise processing electronic documents, and includes the computer system or other similar device by which data is recorded or stored, and any procedures related to in recording or storing of electronic document. What is an intermediary? An intermediary refers to a person who, on behalf of another person and with respect to a particular electronic document, sends, receives, and or stores or provides other services in respect to that electronic data message or electronic document. What is an electronic key? Electronic key refers to a secret code which secures and defends sensitive information that cross over public channels to a form decipherable only with a matching electronic key. Originator. Originator refers to a person by whom or on whose behalf the electronic document purports to have been created, generated, and or sent. The term does not include a person acting as an intermediary with respect to that electronic document. What is an electronic document? Again, it refers to information or the representation of information, data, figures, symbols, or other modes of written expressions described or however represented by which a right is established or an obligation extinguished, or by which a fact may be proved and affirmed, which is received, recorded, transmitted, stored, processed, retrieved, or produced electronically. What do you mean by service provider? A service provider is one, online services or network access, or the operator of facilities, therefore including entities offering the transmission or providing of connections for online communication or electronic documents of the user's choosing. Or number 2, the necessary technical means by which electronic documents of an originator may be stored and made accessible to be designated or undesignated third party. Now, Section 6, Legal Recognition of Data Messages. Information shall not be denied legal effect, validity, or enforceability solely on the grounds that it is in the data message purporting to give rise to such legal effect, or that it is merely referred to that electronic data messages. Now, legal recognition of electronic documents. Electronic documents shall have the legal effect, validity, or enforceability as any other document or legal writing. Legal recognition of electronic signatures. An electronic signature on the electronic document shall be equivalent to the signature of a person on a written document if that signature is proved by showing that the prescribed procedure not alterable by the parties interested in the electronic document. Section 9. Presumption relating to electronic signature. In any proceeding involving an electronic signature, it shall be presumed that A. The electronic signature is the signature of the person to whom it correlates, and B. The electronic signature was affixed by that person with the intention of signing or approving the electronic document, unless the person relying on the electronically signed electronic document knows or has notice of defects in or unreliability of the signature is not reasonable under the circumstances. Section 10. Original documents. Where the law requires information to be presented or retained in its original form, that is considered as original document under this law. Section 11. Authentication of electronic data messages and electronic documents. Until the Supreme Court by appropriate rules shall have so provided, electronic documents, electronic data messages, and electronic signatures shall be authenticated by demonstrating, substantiating, and validating a claimed identity by user, device, or another entity in an information or communication system. Section 12. Admissibility and evidential weight of electronic data message and electronic documents. In any legal proceedings, nothing in the application of the rules on evidence shall deny the admissibility of an electronic data message or electronic document in evidence, A. On the sole ground that it is in electronic form, or number 2, on the ground that it is not in the standard written form, an electronic data message or electronic document meeting. Number 13, retention of electronic data message or electronic document, notwithstanding any provision of law, rule, or regulation to the contrary. A, the requirement of any provision of law that certain documents be retained in their original form is satisfied by retaining them in the form of an electronic data message or electronic document. Section 14, proof of affidavit. That matters referred to in Section 12 on admissibility and Section 9 on the presumption of integrity may be presumed to have been established by an affidavit given to the best on deponent's knowledge, subject to the rights of parties in interest as defined in the following section. Section 15, cross-examination. Number 1, a deponent of an affidavit referred to above that has been introduced in evidence may be cross-examined as of right by a party to the proceedings who is adverse in interest to the party who has introduced the affidavit or has caused the affidavit to be introduced. Number 2, any party to the proceedings has the right to cross-examine a person who is not a party to the proceedings and who did not act under the control of the party, using the record proving that the electronic data message or electronic document was recorded or stored in the usual and ordinary course of business. Section 16, formation of validity of electronic contracts. Number 1, except as otherwise agreed by the parties. Number 1, an offer. Number 2, the acceptance of an offer. And number 3, such other elements required under existing laws for the formation of contracts may be expressed in, demonstrated, and proved by means of electronic data messages or electronic documents. Number 2, electronic transactions made through networking among banks or linkages thereof with other entities or networks and vice versa shall be deemed consummated upon the actual dispensing of cash or the debit of one account and the corresponding credit to another, whether such transaction is initiated by the depositor or by an authorized collecting party. Section 17, recognition by parties of electronic data message or electronic document as between the originator and the addressee of the electronic data message or electronic document, a declaration of will or other statement shall not be denied legal effect, validity, or enforceability solely on the ground that it is in the form of electronic data message. Section 18, attribution of electronic data message. 1. An electronic data message or electronic document is that of the originator if it was sent by the originator himself. 2. As between the originator and the addressee, an electronic data message or electronic document is deemed to be that of the originator it was sent. A. By a person who had the authority to act on behalf of the originator with respect to that electronic data message or electronic document. Or B. By an information system programmed by or on behalf of the originator to operate automatically. And Section 19, error on electronic data message or electronic document. The addressee is entitled to regard the electronic data message or electronic document received as that which the originator intended to send and to act on that presumption unless the addressee knew or should have known had the addressee exercised reasonable care or used the appropriate procedure. A. That the transmission resulted in any error therein, or that the electronic data message or electronic document is sent to an information system which is not so designated by the addressee for the purpose. Section 20. Agreement or acknowledgement of receipt of electronic data message or electronic documents. General rule: no acknowledgement of receipt is necessary except if the parties agrees to it. Number 2, originator requested the electronic data message or electronic document. What are the modes of acknowledgement when required? 1. Agreement as to particular method to be followed. No agreement as to particular method. A. Any communication by the addressee. And B. Any conduct of the addressee sufficient to indicate the receipt of the originator. Section 21. Time of dispatch of electronic data messages or electronic documents. General rule. The dispatch of an electronic data message or electronic document occurs when it enters an information system outside the control of the originator of the person who sent the electronic data message or electronic document on behalf of the originator. Is there an exception? Yes, except when otherwise agreed upon. Section 22. Time of receipt of electronic data messages or electronic documents. Unless otherwise agreed between the originator and the addressee, the time of receipt of an electronic data message or electronic document is as follows. A. Upon entry in the designated information system. B. Upon the retrieval by the addressee. Excuse me, class. C. Upon entry in the information system of the addressee, the parties did not designate an information system. Section 23. Place of dispatch and receipt of electronic data messages or electronic documents. Unless otherwise agreed between the originator and the addressee, an electronic data message or electronic document is deemed to be 1. Dispatch at the place where the originator has its place of business, and number 2, receive at the place where the addressee has its place of business. This rule shall apply even if the originator or addressee had used a laptop, other portable device to transmit or receive his electronic data message or electronic document. This rule shall apply to determine the tacitus of such transaction. Section 24. Choice of security methods. Subject to applicable laws and or rules and guidelines promulgated by the DTI with other appropriate government agencies. Parties to any electronic transaction shall be free to 1. Determine the type of level of electronic data message or electronic document security needed, and to select the use or implement appropriate technological methods that suit their need. What else? Section 27. Government use of electronic data message, electronic documents, and electronic signature. Notwithstanding any law to the contrary, within 2 years from the date of the effectivity of the Act, all departments, bureaus, offices, and agencies of the government, as well as all other government-owned and controlled corporations that pursuant to law require or accept the filing of documents, require that documents be created or retained and or submitted, issue permits, licenses or certificates of registration or approval, or provide for the method and manner of payment or settlement of fees and other obligations to the government. Section 30. Extent of liability of a service provider. What is the general rule? The general rule is no person or party shall be subject to any civil or criminal liability in respect of the electronic data messages or electronic document for which the person or party acting as a service provider merely provides access if such liability is founded on. And this includes the making, publishing, dissemination, or distribution of such material or any statement made in such material, including possible infringement of any right subsisting in or in relation to such material. Section 31. Lawful access. Access to electronic file or an electronic signature of an electronic data message or electronic document shall only be authorized and enforced in favor of the individual or entity having a legal right to the possession or the use of plain text, electronic signature, or file, or solely for the authorized purposes. Section 32. Obligation of confidentiality. Except for purposes authorized under the E-Commerce Act, any person who obtained access to any electronic key, electronic data message, or electronic document, book, register, correspondence, information, or other materials pursuant to any powers conferred under this act shall not convey to or share the same with any other person. Section 33, Unlawful Acts and Penalties. We have unlawful act, hacking or crackling. Description, what is this? It is an authorized access into or interference in a computer system or server or information and communication system, or any access in order to corrupt, to alter, to steal, or destroy using a computer or other similar information and communication devices without the knowledge and consent of the owner of the communication system, including the introduction of computer viruses and the like, resulting in the corruption, destruction, alteration, theft or loss of electronic data messages or electronic document, computer or information. Fine minimum of 100,000 pesos and imprisonment of 6 months to 3 years. To continue, hacking is an authorized copying, reproduction, dissemination, or distribution, importation, use, removal, alteration, substitution, modification, storage, uploading, downloading, communication, making available to the public, or broadcasting of protected material, electronic signature, or copyrighted works, including legally protected sound recording, or phonograms, or information material on protected works through the use of communication networks such as, but not limited to, the internet in a matter that infringes intellectual property rights. Again, fine is the minimum of 100,000 pesos and an imprisonment of 6 months to 3 years. Maximum damage incurred. Another unlawful act is when you violate or violation of a Consumer Act of the Republic Act number 7394 and other relevant to pertinent laws through transaction covered by or using electronic data messages or electronic documents. Penalties provided in those laws. Other violations of the provision of E-Commerce Act, maximum 1 million. Maximum penalty, a fine of 1 million, and a maximum imprisonment of 6 years. And again, thank you for listening. That was the last slide. And I hope you will study very well because that will be part of our examination. Now, children, I hope you will study very well because I will really see to it that during your semifinals, we will include this in your exam. And I hope you will strive hard so that you can have a good grade. Thank you for listening and good night to all of you.